Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So in this video, we're going to show you how you can use the lambda function whenever you have very long functions or a function that, or a formula that you have to use more several times in your file. So let's say here, I want to find out uh, what's the remarks based on this table. So this one would require me to create if statements, a nested if statements. uh, so it would go like this. So if, and then you have your cell, if it is less than or equal to, let's say 69 based on this table, I will tag it as below average. And then if again, C2 is less than or equal to 79 average, and so on. So if you are interested in knowing how to create nested if statements like this, so there's already a video for that in the channel, and I will put the link as well in the comment section or in the description of this video. But the problem is that now that we have our very long formula, if ever I need to use the same table or same formula in another worksheet, it means I have to write again the same formula. So is there any way that we can just shorten it or maybe automate that so that I don't have to keep writing the same formula in all of my worksheets? So yes, if you are using MS365, so they created a new function. It's almost like VBA actually, if you're familiar with how to create formulas in VBA. But this time you don't have to learn programming. You simply have to do it within the Excel interface. So here's what you're going to do. You need to use the lambda function. So the lambda function, okay, is a function that allows you to create formulas, okay, within or functions, okay, within Excel, and then you can use that function again in another cell or another worksheet. So here's how you're going to do it. So I'm going to say equals lambda. And by the way, before I forget, the lambda function is only available in MC65. If you have earlier version of Excel, then the lambda function may not work, which also brings us to another reminder that if you are going to use this solution, you have to make sure that everyone in your organization or whoever you want to send the file to has the latest version of Excel as well, because if they don't have the latest version of Excel, then they will not be able to use the lambda function. So now we're ready to create this formula. So we're going to start with equals and then lambda and then open parentheses. So the first parameter of the lambda function is a parameter. And this is going to be a sort of like a name that you will use for an argument or a parameter. So let's say this is the score. So this could be any word or any phrase, okay, that has no spaces that you will see later when you use the formula. So we have here the score, the comma, and then we're now going to create the formula, okay? So we say if, and then we say the score, right, is less than or equal to 69, and then we tag it as, let's say, below average, and so on. Okay, so I remember I created this quite long formula so that we can really appreciate the lambda function. Because if your formula is quite short, then the lambda function sort of like doesn't really serve what its intended use. So you will use the lambda function if you have a long formula, and that long formula or complicated formula, you do not want to keep repeating it in all your worksheets. So now I'm creating the formula again, but this time you will notice that I did not use a cell, okay? I used the parameter name that I designated the score in the formula. So we have here our parameter, this one, and then comma, and it immediately followed by the formula, wherein this formula will use that parameter instead of a cell. Now, if we enter this, you will notice that you will get an error hashtag calc. Okay, now this is also quite a new error in Excel. This simply means that the formula contains a lambda function, which means that you don't really use lambda in a cell itself. So we're just using it now here so that we can sort of like easily create the formula If you're comfortable using another program like Notepad, you can also use Notepad to create this lambda formula that we have. But what you're going to do is you're going to copy this formula. So I'm pressing Control C, and now I'm going to go to my name manager. So let me switch to an entire screen recording. Hold on. So now I have the entire screen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, what I said. So if you haven't, just Control C, and take note, I copied the formula, not the cell. So you have to double click the cell that contains the lambda formula that you have and then copy it. Or if you created the formula using Notepad, you're comfortable doing that, then you just have to copy the formula as well from your Notepad tool. And then from here, the next procedure that I will do is I would go to formulas. And by the way, the hashtag calc error, you leave it as it is. That's not really how we intend to use Lambda. That's why we're getting an error. So here's how to use it. So you're going to go to the formulas tab, and then under formulas tab, we're going to look for the name manager button or the name manager tool. So the name manager tool can be used, okay, to create formulas as substitute for cell references. So this is sort of like an upgrade in the definition of the name manager because of the Lambda function. So name manager, click, and once you have the pop-up for the name manager, next is you have to click new. So in this new name pop-up, you will have to assign a a name for the function that we're going to use. So let's say we're going to put here remarks or grade remarks. So just make sure that the name that you're going to use will not coincide with another Excel function, because you're supposed to use a unique name so that you can easily use it later in your worksheet. So I use grade remarks, and then there's this scope wherein we're going to say that this is workbook, so that you can use the formula or the function grade remarks in all of the cells of the entire file, not just a specific tab. And then in the refers to field, this is where the magic actually happens. There's a default formula that you will see there. You have to remove that default formula and then paste the formula that we had or that we created using the Lambda function. So just make sure that when you do that, you're not sort of like clicking left, right, because if you do that left, right, you will notice that the name manager will write, okay, the cell where you are at the moment, and this weird cell. So if this happens, you simply have to remove anything that was not supposed to be part of the formula. So in short, you have to be a little bit careful when you're using the name manager. This is the reason why we had to create the formula in a cell or in the notepad, because this field over here is a bit sensitive, okay, to your movements. So better to just be ready with the formula and just paste it over there. And then once you're done pasting the formula, you then click OK. And now, if no problems, then you will have the name manager popping up to you again with the grade remarks named manager cell or name cell in the list of names. If you have other cells that have names or used lambda or this procedure in another cell, then you may have more than one name here. But regardless, you click close after that. And now we're ready to use the formula that we created, the grade remarks. So I'm going to remove this formula over here, and I'm going to put my cell and say equals, and then I would use the function grade remarks. And you will notice that the grade remarks function is now being listed as if it's a function that is default or found in your Excel naturally. So it's now a function that you did, and in essence, this is what the Lambda function does. It creates functions, okay, that you can use later on. These functions are derivatives of formulas wherein you have to create the formula like what we did a while ago, the if statement. So grade remarks, open parenthesis, and you will see that the guide is telling us here the score. So this is the name of the parameter that we created a while ago, and it's now being visible again in the guide. So from here, I would say that the score is this cell. So this means that this variable given to us by the score parameter will undergo the formula that we did in the lambda function a while ago. If you remember the if, remember? So now it's C2 that will take over the position of the score in that formula. So when I hit enter, I will get a remark, okay, and double click and it works. So the grade remarks function will get an argument like this, and it will sort of like process, okay, the cell C2 or the score based on the formula that we created in the lambda function. So that is how the lambda function works. And the nice thing about it is that if I go to another worksheet and try to use grade remarks again, you will notice that it's usable, okay, in that in other worksheets as well. So I can do grade remarks and then click cell here and then close, and no problem, it will still work. So that's the purpose of the lambda function. So this is something that was doable before using Visual Basic, but now Excel sort of like made it easier by using the interface itself, not programming anymore. So I hope this somehow helped you in your problem. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the comment section. I will try to answer as soon as I can. And if this video helped you, I would appreciate your like or subscribe or ring the notification button so that it helps the channel create more videos for you. For now, that's it, and I will see you in the next video.